morning, class. Welcome to Homeroom with Unc and Market Monk. Morning, P. How's your week?
It was good. I had some smalls kind of just sitting there and just waited, and they sold out of quite a few of those, and couple earnings. The earnings aftermaths were a little better. Caught into dropping on Friday, and then had some home builders. Cole, did well for me. So yeah, pretty good. I mean, I'm not. And then crypto got out of most of that. Kept some, but um, mostly selling, not buying for me. The buys were kind of quick, the 15-minute trade. So yeah, solid overall. Rallies a little more ferocious than I expected. I never catch it all in those kind of moments, but definitely can get plenty if you just loaded at some of our spots like Redfin, etc.
Yeah, the only thing I really scalped last week was Fubo. Um, Other than that, it's everything from 2 weeks ago. It just happens this week. I mean, that's kind of the identifying market we're in right now, and I definitely have a thesis I'll get into on that. But crypto again. I mean, we were on it a week early. What else does the world want? I mean,
Yeah.
you want us to wait and you want us to go 25 leverage on the weekend when it's 64K? I mean, is that what we're looking for? Or you're looking for the bottom? And I think we did a good job identifying that, and then also mentioning the laggers. Um, Redfin, what do we say about that? And then the P's for me, PayPal and Peton. I didn't have as much as Peton, but Peton really stood out to me because even if you were not really a share trader, yeah, you grab a couple hundred shares or even 100 shares. It's like $200 when we were talking about
Yeah.
it. Um, like yeah, it's a decent move. It's safer than the option play. You can give yourself a little time. It's just a good place to start swinging. So I think the sizing there is important, and then just find the plays that kind of work for you and hang out for a month or so. Try it out. Try to swing some shares because I really think that's where we're. I mean, I said range bound probably 2 weeks ago, and the thesis, which I'll get into here in a little bit, has kind of evolved since then. But we're still going to be range bound. We're still kind of low volume, at least for at least 2 or 3 weeks, in my opinion. And there's money to be made, but I think shares are just a little safer right now because the timing stuff is so hard. You need to give yourself time. So, but again, another good week. I'm with you. Probably a lot more selling than buying. Um, that's like a 3-to-1 ratio right now over here for me. So
Yeah.
um, but there's always some stuff at the bottom. We come out of our next session with a few that just look like, hey, this would be good, and then 2 weeks and a month down the road, you'll be able to take some profit out of them. So I like this market. I don't think this is a unk the pump market anymore, and it's not definitely smalls, but
Yeah.
it's more of a swingers market. Um, it really is. You just have to buy yourself time, and if you don't know how to do that on the option side, it's pretty easy in shares. You just buy them and you go back to work.
Yeah, and well, I had someone ask me about option swings, and my my feeling on it uh was it's got to be something I know pretty well, and it's got to be below a really recognizable pivot for me. So DE 380, and I see flow to 400. There are circumstances, there are markets where I see flow at 400 and I buy the strike there, or maybe even buy it higher. Not really in that moment right now. So for me, it's like the strike it has to be at the pivot, and you're trying to get to it. If it breaks through, then you make some decisions on selling, rolling, etc. But I mean that's pretty expensive, and then end phase a little cheaper, but similar, similar kind of deal. So it's a little bit closer to the vest. You get a really good entry on coin MSTR, and then MSTR is a 12% day. I gotta kind of get out of it on the option side at that point. You're just being greedy
Yeah,
over a
whether
weekend.
it's a swing or not. I mean, when the
Yeah,
profit
yeah.
comes,
So
the profit
yeah,
comes.
so that's the thing. Like with these swings, I don't have to stay in it. So you can re-enter, and you just want to be careful about your decision to re-enter, where you're not just like you know basically you had a great entry, a great trade. Well, and now you're chasing if you just re-enter right now. So so I'm fine, I'm fine with like waiting and all that. But yeah, I mean, just you shared. It's just so much. There's just isn't really stress there. Redfin and Peton. I don't even have them in an account I check every day. Now I check them when they move like that. It started to sell some, um, but yeah, I mean, just as an options trader who's just in that world, when you have positions that don't have that theta decay, it's a pretty nice feeling, and really something that people should build, and it avoids that thing I talk about where you're starting over every day as an options trader. Psychologically, that's not really a good place to be, I don't think. So it's fine to have an account that does that, but just overall, watching the market do this and be a few ticks from all-time highs, and you don't have anything. I mean, that's not a great feeling. So I think people should build a kind of multifaceted strategy and just really we spend time on all this stuff for a reason. And there's a lot of really good setups here.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't hide it. I mean, there's stocks the price point of stocks that their price point is huge to me because of sizing. I mean, if it's a
Yeah.
$30 stock, I'm not putting 30K in that. So, I mean, it's just how it is. But
Yeah.
if it's a $3 stock, I can get 1,000 shares. It's much more tolerable. I mean, that's why a lot of the stuff we have is that way. If not, it's usually a five, six, seven, $800 stock that's at its all time high because of how you can read the flow. I mean, I think that for a lot of people just miss that point. You got to figure out what stock works for you the best. Because some won't drop. I mean, we have plenty of them that won't drop 25%. And then there's some smalls that, hey, if they get some bad news or do an offering, they could lose 15-20% overnight. So understanding that, I think, is huge. And a lot of people don't really take that into the equation. But you should be trading similar stocks as the float goes, as the market cap goes, and stuff like that. It's just easier, in my opinion. I don't know if you see that, but I think you do because
Um,
I check your notes every week.
oh yeah, yeah. I mean, and on so I guess mathematically, if LLY goes up 5% and Redfin goes up 5%, that's if you have one share or you have $900 of Redfin, um, that you're going to make the same money on that particular move. But what the hell are you going to? I mean, the share itself, like you got one. Okay, I'm
Yeah,
gonna scale out. I'm gonna sell it. And it's I mean, it can, and then but then it's the opposite issue with options. The LLY, like the one call in LLY, is in my view preferable to 20 calls in Redfin,
Redfin,
where
sure,
like
sure.
yeah, Redfin has to keep like after a day like it had, it's got to hold that momentum, or the Greeks start to mess with you. The IV calms down. You don't want to be in a stock where like you want to buy at low IV and sell on an IV bump, and that's what happens with LLY. LLY should not move 3% in a day, according to the Greeks. When it does, you just hit a home run. But Redfin, it it pops 15%. If it pulls back 2% the next day, you're going to lose a lot of the momentum that you had. So it's
Well,
it's
it has
that's
9 times a bigger float. I mean, you're talking a stock with 100 million shares and one with 900 million shares. That's a big
yeah,
boat. That's a big
exactly.
boat to move. I mean that's what I think people should be looking at and understand. I learned that
Yeah,
with the option side. I think it's 2 summers ago when we were trading Riot at $5. It was
yeah.
just it wouldn't the options would not move like the shares, and it just kind of flabbergasted me. And you need that certain setup, which I think you're. I mean, that's your skill, right? I mean, these guys on Twitter will call. It always bugs me on Twitter when I see on Twitter Rocket Lab was the latest one. Like they're buying Rocket Lab calls. Like why isn't Monk?
Right.
Why isn't Monk talking about Rocket Lab calls, but we're buying shares? And when you figure that out, I think the options become a little bit easier for you, where you should be fishing at, depending on your sizing
Yeah,
strategy, time, and stuff like that.
exactly. And that's I think the thing that I mean, people new to the room, understandably, they see me reading the flow on the smalls, but that doesn't mean I want to buy those. That
We're
doesn't
looking
mean I
for
want to
price
buy the options
targets
of the
and
small.
timing.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. And yes, whales are buying those calls, but it's a little bit more complicated than that. Like I said the other day, I'm like, if BlackRock wants to give me my checkbook, I'll trade like them. But
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
think
yeah.
you don't the it's a misnomer to say, oh, trade like a whale. You cannot do that, because there's so much going on with contract swaps and bid side, and selling puts while they're buying calls, and vice versa. So so no, so I'm trying to read the landscape and see the move in the underlying. And then what I trade depends completely on the market cap and share construction, and the Greeks on the options, all that stuff. And that's where my notes come in. But the bread and butter of what we do of collabs is like, this stock is at this spot right now. This is how it lines up in your system, and here's the flow profile of it, and where the underlying is probably going to go and when. And I mean, that's a huge advantage. You want to
Yeah,
beat the market, it's those two elements together.
yeah, and no, for me, it starts with just a level, some sort of support,
Yeah,
and it usually
yeah,
has to build a little bit. And when I have that, I just look for things to line up on your side. And there's a secondary part to that. If you go search Redfin this week, as soon as that shit hit 869, that's the line on my chart. I'm asking you, that's just
yeah,
I do that repeatedly. I mean, I buy at the bottom of my channel. When we get to the top, I bug you to see where it's going. Sometimes I have to do it 3 or 4 times in a row, just until I get some clarity from that side. Um,
yeah.
because I don't just
Well,
want to play
and
that. I don't just want to play my channel. I mean, but that's the point of the channel is we play from one support to the next resistance, and then we look if we're going to continue, and that's just always kind of been the play. So, not that you should
yeah,
chase Redfin off 859, but sometimes the flow read, that secondary flow read, is good enough. You can do that. But buy at the bottom, folks. I mean, Zillow's another good one. I was talking Zillow 42 months ago. You're talking Zillow 60 now. Do the math. Just do the
yeah.
math. And your
No,
40's not
definitely.
your 40's not coming back on shares. It's just not.
Yes, and I think that's always the decision you have to make um with a big, previous winner. And even, you know, me still putting LLY in my notes every day, even after the move it made. They're just very motivated to test 1,000 basically. And I don't know if they're going to get there, but you can definitely, you kind of trade that attempt. And then the flip side of what you're talking about, when I post the same contract multiple days in a row. I didn't forget I posted it yesterday. I'm just saying that, like, they are staying on this, and sometimes they'll get more aggressive, and then
They DCA
what.
too.
Yeah, and what you do is you just you copy paste the same thing that you had
Hmm.
said before, and so it's just it's re-emphasizing that, and a lot of times I'm already in that stuff, and I'm just looking. I mean, some of my posts are for my own personal benefit,
Hundred
and I'll
percent.
just let you guys see it.
100%. No,
But
I use
uh,
search. I use that search function a lot. Like usually
yeah,
that reminds me to tell people to use it, because there's just so much information on there, and I mean, we're gonna get into a little SMA talk here, anyways. But I'm the slow one. You're the fast one. I mean, my stuff. That's why I can copy and paste that note. Is because there's no way we've traded that many shares in a
yeah,
24-hour
exactly.
period.
Yeah,
My levels aren't gonna change. They're real historical support and resistance levels. So it's just, yeah. I mean, it never bothers me because it keeps me on a chart usually that I probably should stay on because it's active from your side, and proven through time that when you're early, those moves are usually a lot bigger than when I'm early.
yeah. No, that's definitely true. Um,
I do want to
yeah. So
talk.
tell me a little.
I do want to
Go
talk.
ahead.
You're going to go with the algo stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna see what you got on that.
Yeah, so I've been trying to just get a market thesis here for about a month and a half, right? Like just try to have a general direction of the next quarter or two where we're going. And I mean, you called it the last one. We were in the Unk the Pup small cap market, and and now I really think we're. I mean, from what I'm seeing with what you bring to me, we're hitting 50 SMAs or 200 SMAs. The 50 on the weekly and the 200 on the daily are basically the same thing. They're real close. So for me, when I see and semi, it was semis this week. The semis you dropped when they all bounced off the 50 a week and a half ago. That's not retail doing that.
Yeah,
When I already have a thesis that we're range bound, and I'm seeing a 50 bump, we're probably going to come up just a little short of the all-time highs. And we're going to do that until we thin out and get some direction. But that's just where we currently are. And for me, it's very telling because that's big money not wanting them to stop the bull run. Um, or these SMAs would fail. I mean, again, it's not retail that buys on these. And if you're a market historian or if you're a little bit older, that's just how they traded in the 80s and 70s. They dollar cost averaged in off the 50 or the 200 on the weekly, and they just built a position that was going to last 10 years. No one day traded back then. You were an investor. You used the market to
yeah,
invest. You had to call in your trades on the goddamn phone. You didn't have a phone in your pocket. Um, and
right.
and Warren Buffett's still alive, so
Yeah, yeah.
there's still some people that trade that way, and I don't
It's
want to
why
say
Oxy's so good.
hundred
I mean, it's
percent,
it's very
hundred
simple.
percent,
Yeah,
100%. Yeah, he's gonna buy officer. I don't know his level yet exactly, but if you stayed on that every single day, you would see the big money come in on that, and you could figure out where he's buying at. It's not hard, and for me, I get the replay off volume profile, and that's why we have 56. You pick your change, but
yeah.
it's just more about the control, and for me, there's a big effort right now across the board. I mean, it's like it was the entire semi sector that you brought to the table. They don't want it to fail. They want to keep this bull market alive, and we just got out. I mean, a lot of people started trading in one of the worst markets ever. Bear markets usually don't last long. Bull markets can last years and years and
Yes.
years. And what you're going to see is what Professor just found maybe 3 months ago. So we rotated in the smalls, right? And then they had this big the stocks that were just beat to shit. They get picked up. And then you kind of have a stagnant period, a little bit of pullback, a little bit of just low volume, and then you get hit again. And it's just big money people, whoever however you want to put it, they're looking for better opportunity in the market because they have money to invest. So I don't think we're close to done in this bear market, but we're just in a stagnant period. Probably another 2 weeks that we're going to sit here. Um, I don't want to say buy the dip, but stuff that dips is what you should be on because they want to keep it. It seems to me like big money wants to keep the market afloat.
Yes, and I mean it's not a coincidence that I mean Nvidia is not, $102 going into earnings.
Yeah, yeah,
It made its run and would be extremely difficult to trade through ER. You're probably not going to see that one in um, the ER casino. In
well,
fact, if you want to do it, I mean, just straddle QQQ because it's gonna, that'll be what it the effect the impact it has. Um, but yeah, I mean, so you basically we were talking about buying Nvidia. I didn't really, I didn't think it was going to dip that far. I didn't tick bottom on it back at Pan Day. Although that was the day I said like kind of buy it, and I like AGO and others. But yeah, I think once again with Nvidia, like people watch it go up and they're watching in disbelief as it climbs here, and now they're thinking about buying it 130, uh, and just really not what we want to be doing. I just think these guys like they keep blowing up their accounts on this. And I mentioned today, a lot of these Finch guys who are puffing their chest out bearish now, they're doing it because they're mad. They're mad that they didn't trade this market very well, and so that they would take it down. And that psychologically is just not really where you want to be in my view.
no, again, another search the group. I mean, I was pretty adamant that Nvidia was going to 100.
Yeah,
It was real simple on volume profile. 92 was the best shelf. My thing, I got my cursor on it. It turned into 89 though. but that's the blue chip, so it never really got to the 50 on the weekly, right? It hit the
Yeah.
psychological
Yeah.
number, and that's, I mean, that's just, I hate bringing this chart up because I do want to talk about those two levels today. um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Um,
for me, it's what you were saying about Twitter and stuff. I still remember a certain character over there full porting March puts, and like
yeah.
you see where he's at now, and it's a bear market will let you know. A 1 day can't turn you into a bear, and a 1 week can't turn you into a bear, and that's pretty much what we've had. It's just, um, and I've stressed it when it's happened. Normal pullback. We need this pullback. It's important to have this so people don't get that fear, and it's gonna happen again. Like we're probably gonna pull back here within a month, month and a half. We're gonna have another bad week or two because we're range bound. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's just how it works. I think personally we break through. I think we do sell off like the week after the cuts, but then we pick steam right up back
Um,
after that.
yes, I do too. I mean, it's the kind of the ultimate sell the news opportunity, and especially as like I said with RH and Toll that I said home builders stocks are going to improve before material conditions do, and and RH went up 7% Friday, pretty big move for the stock. But, so the point is, like you get this hope, get this run, the cut itself happens, and it sells off. But then the actual benefit of that cut in the real world to materialize in economic data, I view, and then you crawl back up. So top fade, I'm mechanical buying, um, those just stable diagonal line, um, little less volatility. But yeah, so I mean, that's why, with some Redfin, I'm just like, you know, 20 plus, I want to have some that here, but that doesn't mean that I don't sell what we have like we did today.
Oh, I mean, the best. I don't like saying it out loud, but the best way to swing trade is to oversize a little bit, because that way when you scale out,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
have the position you like. If you have that confident to play, but that's not what you do with every single play. Um, as far as the pullback goes, I I, I think it's from the, when I watch charts every day, you get to a point to where it's just normal. Like you're like, all right, we should hit this and we should pull back, and this is where I'm looking for the pullback. And on a weekly chart, it's the same thing. It's just slower. So it's a little easier
Yeah.
to relate, but you have to. I mean, you always have to have that in your head that there is a healthy pullback spot. What I'm going to do when we pull back, um, and I wouldn't call it selling off. It's just simple. I mean, who's not going to take profit after a 20, 30% run, especially people with millions of dollars? I mean, who's not going to take a little
Yeah.
bit off the table? It's idiotic to not take it off the table, to be honest. Um,
Yeah.
in any position, I mean, even enough to lower your average a little bit or enough to buy back if it does pull back. I think that's missed and a lot of people just panic, especially the kids. The Twitter kids. I mean, they're the worst at
Oh yeah.
one bad day, and I mean, it probably has a lot to do with the minute chart, but one bad day will change their whole perception. Um, I'm not a I'm not even I mean I don't even think we're close to any sort of bearish market, right? I mean, I mean
No,
this is
no.
one of the best bull runs in a while. Shout out to September to January. I don't know when, but we're gonna get the ball running. But we haven't stopped from that, and I'm pretty sure you'll know, and I'll let you guys know if I think we're in a bear market or bear territory. But just like when we were looking for reasons to get out of the bear market last time, we got to find reasons to get out of the bull market. And stocks running too high isn't it. It's not it because stuff is so fundamentally beat down right now that's not a blue chip or a Mag 7 that there's still a lot of room to go here. Um, a ton of room to go.
Yeah, I mean, know, Roku just broke into my the zone I have on it. It's not even halfway through it, so uh,
I'll
we
bring that one
definitely
up.
keep going. And
What? Yeah, Roku
that's not.
50, Roku 52 to 62. That's where you buy. You buy that 52 to 62, and you just kind of
Yeah,
DCA in there, and your flow's in 80 or 90, right? I mean,
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
So
So,
yeah,
and you'll notice like people talking about market breadth as now, as some of these smaller names uh, are moving around. And it's, I mean, a good basket of stocks to look at is, just those ARK stocks, Roku being one of them, and a lot of those are if small caps, they didn't used to be small caps. So a lot of mid caps in there and beta stuff, and so those can do extremely well in these conditions, and those in particular are the share option combos. Um, Not every stock is like that, so that's something I talk about too. I haven't talked much lately because those haven't been that great to trade, but we'll probably assist in a moment where they are. So uh, my my focus, my target stocks, change based on what's happened. So yeah, I do expect to see more of those SPACs, IPOs, the left
yes.
head stuff.
Yeah, no, I threw a lot of jabs this. I was expecting a bad report card this week because I threw a lot of jabs trying to figure out where it is.
Yeah.
Depending on if that one gets a good or a bad grade, I'll look at another five that kind of fit that area. Um, wanted, yeah. So
Yeah.
let's. What do you got on the boring stuff this week?
All right. So copper is holding up really well. The copper chart had this bounce just under four. Even like kind of in the worst of things was around there, and then headed back up to 420, and so that is pretty well positioned to move some things. And I think that the way that this typically works, FCX really strong off 40. My pivot was 37. It made a higher low at 40, so that's a pretty good sign. Um, pivots above and all that. But it kind of it filters through the sector where copper sets the tone, aluminum and steel follow, and so I think there's a lot of really good names there. There's a lot of pretty cheap stocks. There's cheap stocks that actually do work very well for options and some of the Brazilian stuff. So that's that looks pretty positive. And for the people cheering on a recession, I don't think a recession is really going to happen with copper showing this kind of strength. Copper's got to really fully break down, for that to really happen. Just in my view, I'm not an economist, but it's sort of the one thing I look at that has been a pretty good leading indicator. Um, Natural gas, still hovering around two, still very suppressed, but also propped up a bit. They're not really letting it. I mean, it's not trading at 150, and I just think you need a lot of time there. But there's a pretty massive payoff down the line. I think with natural gas, you just have to um, play it right. And I think the combo stocks we look at are good. Leverage ETFs, you got to be pretty careful, but you can kind of lotto size those maybe. And lastly, lithium.
Yeah.
I waited a long time, to really get back into it, but I think we're kind of at that moment to me where the kind of perfect storm of it's completely obliterated and going to be a big beneficiary of rate cuts because of its EV implications and just power and energy. It's is going to be a big topic. Part of the reason we're in uranium so much, but yeah, batteries, new battery technology, lithium, American made batteries, like all that kind of stuff is going to be out there. So those stocks and the stocks adjacent to them, I think, are worth looking at. And this is to me like a 2 to 5 year
Sure.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the combo stocks, and I mean, you see me hit the small gold guys every week. So
Yeah.
obviously I like that, and then that old oil. I just think you can't go wrong with oil. So
Yes.
I'm with you. And then lithium, I forget where you said that earlier this week, I think. And I looked at
Yeah.
a couple charts and I was like, all right, I feel it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because those ones they really don't get news ever. So I don't check in with them because they don't really get a lot of news individually. It's more of the commodity might get some news, or maybe a company that's not traded might get some news, or that's not looked at as a lithium company might get some news. But like the actual ones that you've turned me on to, those things never get news. So there, you have to almost set an alarm to go look at the charts. But I did look at them this week, and I definitely picking up what you're putting down over there. Um, I feel the same about silver though too, P. There's that new
Yeah.
battery technology, and what they're saying is it's going to need a lot of silver. But again, it's not a next week thing. It's a down the road thing.
Yeah, and silver. I've just 36 plus is kind of what I'm thinking will happen there.
Wait! It
So
was 26 at the start of the year. Hold on.
exactly. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Jesus. Um, let's move into SPY here. Yeah, you good with that? Or
Yeah.
you want to do a little crypto?
Um, yeah. I mean, so okay. So I would just say in crypto that my feeling is that we're still range bound in crypto in a
Yes.
pretty big range. 70K test, very very probable at this point. But the bigger picture, whales are positioned. I mean, people throw out 100K. I don't. It's probably not that to me. But
have you heard? I heard that, and I'm dumb when it comes to like the mechanics of it. I'm an idiot, flat brain. I know what I'm good at. It's like if I yeah, it's not for me. But I heard 72K to mine a Bitcoin now. That's what it
yeah,
costs to mine a Bitcoin. What is that in the like electric bill? I mean, not that it matters, but fuck.
it's the block rewards that you get for it. So I mean, that's what the halving is. Like, it's basically that it you have to, you have to put more computing power into actually getting it to spit out a whole Bitcoin.
Do you know
And
how they come up with that number though?
um not no, I mean, I
Okay,
don't,
okay.
the technical aspect of it, not really. No.
Yeah, because I was like, well,
But
for me, I mean, just staying flat brain. Well, if it costs 72 to make it, it's probably worth 75.
yeah, exactly, right. And it's why the miners are lagging. I mean,
Yes,
it's
yes, yes.
that and dilution for a couple of them. But yeah, so I mean, those small caps, and I think they're more useful than Mara Riot as far as this goes. But
I know, I know.
the 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 positioning on the leaps on those, to me, says Bitcoin 88, 92,
Yeah,
something like that. So I think, and as far as how you trade that, well, if you just have Bitcoin itself and you DCA'd, and your average is 40,000, then you're sitting pretty. Just chill out and just wait for it. If you are buying minor calls 100% out of the money, looking for that move, that's going to be a problem.
a little
If you
bit.
have the shares, you're good. I wanted my line in the sand. I was like, I want coin as close to 180 as I can get it. I started buying it. It went way the hell below 180 for a minute. I bought more, and I got an average just under 180. And I'm like, okay, for shares, I'm just going to sit in those. There is a number where if it gets back to, I'm going to sell all of it, of course. But yeah, I mean, so that's what I wanted something for this move that I think is going to happen. And options really aren't it. You just got to move in and out of options. And I try to give people a spot. I said MSTR 130, that's where you want to be. And that thing hit 150 on Friday. So, and it'll have a spot up here somewhere where we go back, or I can go back into it. But that usually takes a couple days to materialize. So I think I'm extremely bullish on Bitcoin, but I still make fun of the perma guys because of what they're doing with it. They're 50x leverage, trying to get a 1% move out of Bitcoin when it's up here.
Well, for
Um,
me, for what stands out to me, P, and you kind of said it with the smalls, is like some of those guys have had discords longer than us, and they only know about Riot and Mara. How is that even fucking possible? Like
yeah,
how you
yeah,
not know about the other 15 I have? Because
and well, yeah,
they move better.
and now they know about CLSK. They
Well,
didn't
that
know
was
about it when we were talking
parabolic.
about
That was
it. Yeah,
parabolic.
exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
They know they found that because it was a momentum stock, and then
Yeah.
that turned into oh wait, that's a crypto stock. Like they found out about that because of the run.
Yeah.
They're not on Cipher, they're not on BITF, they're not on Hut, they're not on Hive. They don't know the story of those. Interesting to me though, your coin level came down a little bit. That's what I noticed on your last. Because you were 200 there for a while.
Well, yeah, yeah. I was, but then I literally just remembered a conversation we had on the way down. And I'm
Oh,
like,
200
it's
ain't
200.
shit.
Yeah, 208 shit. And then I was like, okay, 200 still ain't shit. So
No.
a better level had been 220 back when that was holding up. And it was like 220 to 250,
225.
220 to 250.
225.
Yeah,
225.
yeah.
Yep. So it's right there.
And
See it.
and then so yeah, and then so then I bumped it down. 180 was flow driven, so I don't know if that had any chart relevance. But
I'm assuming we're gonna go right here, P, from the previous conversation. I'm assuming, and I want to talk about this, but I was waiting for Spy. But
yeah,
when we had that big pullback, that 1 day sell off,
yeah,
it broke your 200 on the daily, which it doesn't have SMAs yet on the weekly, but it broke that
mhm,
200. And if you look at it since, it's basically followed the 200 the whole way up. It's just throttle
yeah.
on the 200. So again, I think the bigger money that's way ahead wants to defend their position, and then they'll
Yeah,
buy
that makes sense.
more. They'll buy more, especially if they think it's a four, six, $800 stock in 10 years. Or if they think that they are really going to be the blue chip or accepted for the
Uh,
national transfer for the American Eagle coin we're going to get someday.
yeah, and I mean, and Coinbase, I mean, they seem to have really good lawyers because they're just
Yeah.
every challenge to them, that they're is getting wiped out, and then the government uses them as they're suing them, which is funny. And I've said that crypto services. We said this. I mean, that
You.
might be 2 years ago.
You.
That that yeah that's kind of the future things. And I mentioned at the time Square
Hmm.
and Coinbase, and I
Are
think
the
you
two.
can throw PayPal in there. PayPal does a little bit, but Square's aggressive with it. Square's like your vendor stuff. You want it in Bitcoin, you can have it in Bitcoin, and that to me is significant. I think Hood does some nice things
SoFi.
with it. SoFi, yeah. So that more so than the miners. The miners are going to have a great run, I think, in this. They have already, but as far as like
Well, what's going to
the
happen?
investor side,
What's
it's the
going to
services.
happen with those guys is the same that happened in the .com era. They're just gonna the winners are gonna win and suck up the little guys. You're only gonna have like three or four miners at most in the end of it. And that's how it's. I mean, you're seeing
Yeah,
it now.
right.
You're seeing it right
And
now. It's already
and
happening.
who can repurpose their server farms the best? And so IREN definitely, I think, kind of has a leg up there for a lot of reasons. But so yeah, so it's the story's gonna evolve and shift. I mean, we're gonna reach a point where there's just not that much Bitcoin left out there to mine, and so there isn't. It's not very profitable to try to do that, and those fundamentals for those guys is gonna catch up to them eventually. But yeah, the service side,
Yeah, I mean,
love those.
and for me, it's easier to trade the shitty ones because I'm not thinking about a 10-year plan on them. I'm rinsing
Yeah,
and repeating them over and over again off my levels and taking profit. Whereas like coin, kind of want to hold some of that. And that creeps into
yeah,
your head,
exactly.
right? Square?
Yeah,
I mean, I might want to hold on to some Square. I don't know. I haven't thought about that before. But,
yeah,
um,
yeah,
like that's harder for me to trade. So I like trading the shitty stuff because when I see 5, 10, 20%, I'm taking some profit. We'll ride the train until it stops. And I mean, until that goes away, I definitely stay on those. But the long term, they're all going to go away. And you have to understand that.
yes, yeah, absolutely.
Hop into Spy a little bit. Let's do that. Um, I I wanted to first mention that that sell off we had. I think it was a Monday. Wasn't it a Monday? We woke up and it was just
Yeah,
nasty.
yep,
Um, for some reason that lined up with the big big guys having to file their 13 Gs for the quarter. I didn't know that at the time,
Yeah.
but now I do. So I think they had to make their books look right, and that's why we had that sell off. Um, and then we're just rain bound since then. Um, I mentioned when that we got that first candle that we're gonna look a lot like this April candle, this April drop off, and I don't know, that looks pretty fucking similar to me. What doesn't look similar is that it took us probably 2.5 months to reclaim, to retrace, and we retraced to the top in 3 candles. I mean, we're back here at 62 now. Throw last week's numbers. You had 58. We were both basically. I was 50, 59.99. So I was right at 60. We just thought 60 would be the top, which it kind of is. 562.
Yeah.
It's not super far off. And then 42 on the bottom just really didn't get back into the 40s last week. Which that's what was shocking to me. When you're range bound, you usually stay in the range, not the upper half of the range. So that's still very,
Yes.
very, very bullish to me. When we get here, I'm clueless, so I have to listen to you thoroughly and kind of use you for tops and stuff. But
Yeah.
this train's not stopping. It's just not going to stop. It really isn't.
It isn't, and the big story with that drop was the yen carry trade, and you can look that term up and read all about that stuff. That that it's unwinding, or
Yeah,
it's
the Japan stuff.
so yeah, so that currency exchange infinite money glitch that people try, like the numbers changed on it and it's not going to work anymore. And so that was a big jolt down.
It's not going to work.
And then Japan kind of altered course. Probably Yellen was on the phone with them. Whatever. You can't do this. We're not going to let you do this. And so then it recovered a bit. Well, it's kind of unwinding again slowly, but the market doesn't care, and that tells you all that you need to know. That that was the sell off. I mean, that was the excuse for the sell off, and it just cleared out a lot of leverage and reset a lot of things, and then you catch this momentum, this upward momentum, and the people driving the car, whoever, they can just keep that going, and so that's kind of where we are. So as far as SPY goes, I still have 500p December as a very active contract, and it did extremely well. It moved from about this spot, $468, over 1,400 on that drop. Maybe more than that, maybe 1,800 for 5 minutes. But anyway, now that's back to where it was, and they're scaling back into it. The problem is, for the downside, is that I really need that 1-2 punch for
Yeah.
this to have any real meaning, because the 500p is not about taking it to 500. It's about taking it into the 520s. So I got to see October 520p or September 530p.
Yeah, that's the one.
And it's just not out there right now. So I'm looking for that to wake up before. I think I will see that happening. And then there's some complement in SQQQ and some other things that DIA and stuff like that. So I look for that. I'm mindful of that, but I don't hold and hope SPY 500p. Looking for the crash to happen. It's just not something you can really time. Okay, so as far as the kind of the creeping upward, I do have quite a bit at the 566 area in over the next couple weeks. So if we want to bust through, I think that's the spot. But as far as this week goes, I kind of have a hard time putting us there. Like that, we just rip through all-time highs. I just don't. I don't really see the flow set up for that. It certainly could happen, but so I'm gonna set my.
Well, it depends on what the big guy does.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
that's
for
gonna
sure.
that's gonna do it.
But it depends on also on where we are on that day.
Yes, I agree.
If they want to pull us back first, then we could rip through it. But yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go for it. I'm going to not literally trade to go for it, but go for it on my level here. I'm going to say 566.13. And then I think a little bit of a pullback before that. I'm going to say 549.05.
Okay, now I don't feel bad about my range. I already wrote down this where my cursor is here on my 1 hour because that's about all I got locally. But 552.39 is my bottom. I mean, we're $2 or $3 off there, not super far off there. A wick as we call it. I was gonna go a little higher, but then when you said your first number, I was like, well, I'm gonna have too big of a range, but it's not gonna be that bad. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go 68. B. I am gonna go there.
All right,
Yeah,
yeah, I
and
like that.
I'm gonna go 568.68 just to double down on the number. I'm a bull, so
Yeah, yeah.
I do think Nvidia does okay. Um, and yeah. I mean, a lot of that money, as a lot of the money or the run, um, was just based on orders. I think we'll finally start getting some hard numbers in, and they'll do good on the number side, with some pretty low expectations, to be honest with you. So,
I like it.
yeah,
Um,
68, 5 6. We were five a month ago. We were 560 at the end of the year, and we're talking 568 before the first rate cut.
yeah, no, I know. Now, okay, so I have there's a well, since it was publicly on Twitter, I'll talk about it here. But
Okay, okay.
what did you think of me kind of calling my shot on snow and getting aggressively bearish in this environment where everything was was running up?
Oh, I
Like
just
you,
don't. I don't. I mean, you have a It's not you're pulling it out of your ass or you don't like a
yeah,
company.
yeah.
You usually have a reason. So I mean, I don't look too far
But
into
it
it.
just
I mean, I trust your view, and I was gonna say when you said the 1-2 punch on Spy, like I don't know when you started doing that, but I mean that's a level up because
yeah, yeah.
that's been very good for us, that 1-2 punch thing. So no, I just figured out Professor sees what he needs. I mean that's kind of where I'm at with it. I don't gravitate towards those because I don't play the downside.
Yeah.
Share structure on that guy kind of hard to get a swing position for me. But yeah, and it's just the work paying off
Well,
in my opinion.
yeah, and I think and I just one of the things it illustrates, and the reason I bring it up is that as we are bullish on a lot of these names, that there's going to be some big name sector losers too,
Of course,
and
of course.
then so I think that you don't want to pile in and buy the dip on the stock that has a kind of it has like a disastrous performance on earnings and a reason for that. We love the mid candle reclaim, but I think it'd be a mistake to think that all the setups are gonna do that, and that it's going to be this instantaneous thing. So yeah, I would just kind of caution people to be to be careful about that. I mean, particularly we talk about like SaaS all the time is a hard sector.
Sure.
It's a grad school sector, so yeah, so definitely try to stay safe within those.
I'm buying Intel right now. P, should I not?
No, yeah, you should buy them. I think
Okay.
I think because you're not buying weeklies $3 out
No,
of the money.
no, no,
So
no, no. That's my 5 to 10 year trade type thing. I mean, it's Intel. Is it gonna be here? It's $20 right now.
yeah, I mean, I think the dividend will come back.
Yeah,
I think it will. I don't think you trade that one as a dividend stock, and like people were, and you see why. You want that. You want Coca Cola or Oxy, but anyway, yeah. So no, I'm not really talking about that one. Not even so much. I mean, I think crowd will get through all this bullshit. They're too important. Like, so
they're
if
too good.
crowd
Yeah,
fucks
too
you,
good to fail.
if crowd fucks you over, you have to keep your subscription to unfuck yourself. And so like that's a moat. That's the thing when people talk about that. So they're gonna be around, but the snow's kind of a different story. So anyway, so yeah, I as far as leveling up, I'm a researcher. I mean, my field is medieval literature, but I try to bring that to what we do. So it's not a style switch, but I add a few pieces here and there to the toolbox we operate from.
No, I say that in our room from time to time that we're not at our peak yet. We're still perfecting our system. I mean, it's an ongoing process, and the results are already good. Wait till we're let's continue to give us time because we continue to get better. So and we
Yeah,
are and
yeah,
we are already the
absolutely.
best.
Yeah, exactly. Good stuff.
Like and subscribe, link somewhere, all that good stuff. You ready to get to work?
Um, yeah, yeah. I'll just